Alright guys, we are back. I am so sorry for the delay. The one player is playing on an iPad, so taking screenshots and all that nonsense is a little harder. But yeah, I'm going to get these guys to go straight away. RDU is up next against Pohs. RDU is rank 45 in Europe at the moment, I think. I have it on the overlay. And Pohs doesn't have a Gosu ranking as of yet. May get some points if he goes forward in this event. So we're in round 4 at the moment on the stream. We're starting to get into the kind of the thicker parts of the tournament. Still have some killers in here, RDU, for Hoi, for example. So, you know, still got some pro level players. But we are ready to get into the first game, guys. It's going to be RDU versus Pohs, who I will call Po from now on. And it looks like we got Secret Paladin going up against Face Shaman. So this should be a very quick game for both players. But ultimately, looking at these hands, I think Po has quite an edge. He does have that burst damage going forward. However, RDU does have a lot of board presence with that Muster for Battle and the Haunted Creeper. If you can find a Knife Juggler, things will look a lot better for him. Might keep them at Noble Sacrifice here if he wants a bit of protection from early pressure. But decides to keep the whole thing once that Challenger swing on potentially 5 or 6. So Trogzor comes down first, and a nice curve for RDU there. He's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 coin Challenger, so things are pretty set in stone for him unless he draws anything better than what he's got in his hand. Finley comes down, goes to the Druid Shapeshift. An Abusive Sergeant as well. Going to run into that Noble Sacrifice. I would have liked to have seen a Leper Gnome there. Instead, I think the Abusive Sergeant was a bit too trigger happy. Could have waited. So another Mysterious Challenger to hand. It's not alive for back-to-back challenges, which is going to be brutal for Po. And the one problem he had hitting that Noble Sack with the Abusive, not only did he lose 2 damage from the Abusive, but now his Tunnel Trog is going to be cleared up pretty easily. No silence from Po's side of things. So yeah, it's going to be pretty tough going forward. Leper Gnome's going to come down this turn. Maybe with Hero Power. I guess you just go face here. Unless you really want to protect that Tunnel Trog, and I don't see a major point, a good reason to at 1 health. It's going to die to Muster anyway, or Consecration. So, potentially an aggressive swing. Coming from Po here, just going all face. Doing what Shaman loves to do. Alright, Shielded Mini-Bot to hand, but this Light's Justice is going to slow down Po, trying to clear that Tunnel Trog before it can do any real damage. And of course, the Spider Game popped up by the Abusive. Flame Juggler is going to leverage things on the board a little bit here, but ultimately RDU has a lot of control here going into the next few turns with the Keeper of Alderman. And of course that coin Challenger into Challenger. Keeper of Alderman is the straightforward play. Can start trading. Start chipping away at this board. 20 health, turn 5 for the Shaman. No Doomhammer just yet. Just a couple of burst spells. So I would say RDU's in a pretty good spot. He still needs to start doing damage to the Shaman, but the Mysterious Challenger next turn is going to represent a lot of pressure, and of course the big body and the thinning of the deck with the secrets. So things are looking pretty tough. I might see a crackle on the Alderman here to keep this 1-1 on board. That just goes for the face, gets a heavy 6 as well. So RDU drops down straight away to 13, putting him in a much deadlier range at this mana, with the players being at this mana. So now, what is the decision? I guess the 3-4 can deal with little Murloc pretty easily. Coin Challenger just seems way too tempting. But RDU might have other plans in store. I can't think of anything much better than that. Minibot, hero power doesn't even represent the same amount of damage. Challenger just brings as a body. So that doesn't seem great. So it looks like just Challenger is going to come down here. Clear up this 1-2. And of course the last Noble Sack is in his hand. So this is just going to be Redemption, Comp Spirit, and Avenge. Tunnel Trog off the top there for Poh. Not what he wants to see. You definitely want to get that Doomhammer. Doomhammer would just seal out the game for him next turn. But Tunnel Trog's the only thing he's got. And if he does go for hero power, he's not going to proc any kind of secret chain because the Noble Sacrifices are either in hand or have been used. And they're the guys who start off that long sequence of secrets going off. However, the competitive spirit is going to go, and now RDU is going to get some threat on board, and they're going to start pushing some damage. Alright, goes to the swing there, puts him down to 9. So a Doomhammer would be enough to finish him off. So maybe a Challenger won't come down this turn. Maybe you might see Noble Sack into Blessing of Kings just to protect from that Doomhammer. And RDU seems to agree. Going for the double mini bot instead. And use that Blessing of Kings as a bit of burst going forward. So does RDU have the lethal on board next turn? Have a look. I believe he's one off. So 13, 15. Oh no, he's not one off. So Blessing of Kings will seal the deal, and if an attack is made for this hero power, Avenge is going to proc, as well as Redemption, creating even more damage on board. So this, I think, is going to be lights out for Poh here. Lava Burst was not the card he was looking for. I don't think you can hero power at this point, but you definitely can't proc that Chain of Secrets, so you're going to lose, and Poh does hold out. And the Blessing of Kings, I think, is enough. So that's 10. No. Not quite there, I don't think. He needs one more. Well, he needs 2 more damage. Can't even squeeze in the hero power. Double Rock Biter isn't gonna do anything at this point with that Noble Sacrifice down. So RDU is gonna take this on 4 health. A very close game indeed. But Poh is just gonna go for it anyway. Have a little bit of hope. But hope will be lost. And RDU is going to take game number 1 in round 4. And the secrets are still going to proc as well. So well played from RDU there. Staying in that game against that Face Shaman. Face Shaman will return in the future. It does need to win a game. This is Conquest, guys. Best of 5 Conquest. So I wonder what else RDU is going to bring. I think even though the meta game is said to be stale, there is a lot of diversity. You can play a lot of decks. We just haven't had a lot of new decks recently, which is what's kind of making people say that. But, you know, anything can be brought. The APAC Winters Championship showed that there's a lot of diversity still gonna happen. Alright, so these guys are figuring out their next decks. Again, I'm not too sure what to expect. It kind of can go really any way. Could just see kind of traditional stuff come out like Zulok, Druid. Just go for kind of like a core of consistency. Could see some control stuff, could see some anything, could see some Lease Warrior, that's been pretty popular. But we see a Warrior coming down from RDU and a Warlock coming from Pohs. So this is looking like Demon Handlock from Pohs. And we're looking at Patron Warrior from RDU. Frothing Berserker, pretty good keep here. Fiery War Axe if he's expecting Zulok and can start chipping away at their pressure. If you keep Fiery War Axe, I don't think you really need to keep Armor Smith. You can just throw that away, try and get a 4-drop. Maybe even a Death Spite. Yep, goes for the throw there, gets the slam. Pohs didn't keep the Farseer, didn't want anything on free. Gonna expect to tap a lot. This could just be Reno Lock though. Demon Reno Lock or Demon Handlock. There's a lot of flexibility in the Reno lists since you get one-offs. So let's see what he is bringing for us. So Zombie Chow leads the charge here, and it's going to give RDU a lot of information about what he's going up against. So he can adjust his game plan accordingly. Knows he has a little bit more time to set up things. He doesn't have to race a Zulok or fight the pressure of a board being swarmed by minions. So you can just play on curve here and see if this control deck has the responses it needs to deal with RDU's pressure. In-game boss isn't going to challenge the Frothing Berserker, but it does make things a little awkward. Crocon Elite, though, can deal with it. And then the Fiery War Axe can deal with the 1-1, or you could use the Frothing Berserker. But the Frothing Berserker represents a lot more damage after being buffed up from those hits. It does make the Crocon very vulnerable to Mortal Coil, but the area effect removals like Hellfire, Demon Wrath pose a bit of danger to Pohs because of that Frothing on board and the potential damage it can bring. Dark Peddler could find a Soulfire here, that would be a great response. Doesn't find it. Bloodsail Corsair is one of the spicier cards from Dark Peddler in specific matchups. Baby kind of Ooze or Baby Harrison Jones. Maybe this is what Jack Harrison Jones does when he becomes a zombie. Because he definitely looks like a zombie in that picture. Becomes a pirate zombie once he meets his inevitable demise after all the exploring and danger that he goes through in his average days. So Pohs has just committed some stuff to the board to try and fend off these minions coming from RDU. RDU is just going to keep cleaning up. Doesn't protect his Frothing from big game hunter range. Kind of the inevitable. So Pohs does get to respond quite nicely. He could go for a BGH. But the only problem is he does leave the Crocon on board, which has gotten a tremendous amount of value at the moment. Could go for a tap, but could feel that's a little dangerous. But then you got to consider what can the Crocon really do at 1 health. No inner rages will be able to go on it. So that Frothing Berserker finally goes down. And the Battle Rage going to get 2 cards. Not too bad. Finds himself a Dread Corsair, which is pretty nice. Could even just slam the Big Game Hunter if he wanted. But this Crocon Elite is still on the board. Still chipping away. So now Pohs has to consider, is it Molten Giant Shadow Flame time? Is it that much pressure on board? I can't really see much else he could do. He could go for another tap if he's really, really brave. But maybe Owl the 1/4 and then do the Shadow Flame just to get a 2/1 down. It's a tough call.
So many possibilities.
I think... What can Owl really do, even if you play the Owl at this point? It's not going to trade into much from the patron side. So maybe just Giant Shadow Flame. Maybe that's the way forward here.
So many possibilities.
Yep, that's what he goes for. So doesn't even go for the tap. Doesn't feel it's safe enough. RDU will gain some armor. And that giant is now gone. So this is a Reno lock. That's been used up. But now we've just seen a Shadow Flame. RDU feels like it's time to get 2 patrons out with this Whirlwind. Feeling it might be enough. Demon Wrath on its own isn't enough right now. Needs a bit of a spell power buff. But he can silence the free and then Demon Wrath. But it does leave the free on board. And at 9 health, things are looking pretty dangerous for Poe at the moment.
I wonder.
Just trying to see if there's anything else he can go for. Now, he could go for Implosion on the free and then Demon Wrath. But you need a 3 or 4. That's kind of a high risk, high reward play. But the Owl is the safer variation. Oh, he's going to do it this way, okay. And another patron finds itself to RDU's hand. And RDU's just going to put even more pressure on Poe. Mind Control Tech's not going to find much use here on a free creature board. So Demon Wrath, well, Demon Wrath does spawn a patron. I think the Owl had a lot more value being kept in hindsight. Maybe just going for the risky Implosion on the other patron, followed by the Demon Wrath. He did hit a 3, so it would have worked out. He would have cleared the board. And then for this patron... Unstable Ghoul follow-up, he would have had the Owl. Not that he had known it would have shown up, but it was a bit of a tough situation. So you might as well pop open this guy first. Plays the Doomguard. It can clear the free, and if he doesn't throw Demon Fire away, he can clear the whole board. So that is a full board clear. A bit of an awkward one, but Slam might find the last piece to finish this guy off. No inner rage though. That's probably what he was looking for. And Crokin Elite is going to put him down to 2 health. Is this a Reno Jackson lock? Can he come back? Siphon Soul will heal him and deal with the threat on board. Gonna have to run that Doomguard into the Unstable Ghoul, and then the free Mind Control Tech is all that is left. 1 card in hand for this control deck. Oh, he gets a Finley, armor up into Finley. Will he get the life tap or the hero power? The Hunter hero power, sorry. So Shapeshift, Reinforce, and Totem. So I've spoken to Sot a little bit about the selections here. Totem lets you heal patrons, but all the patrons have been used. Shapeshift does represent 1 damage every turn. However, Reinforce represents a lot more damage if the board isn't dealt with. Draxus off the top. That is a great top deck there for Poe. Putting him back in the game at 15 health. And he gets that weapon and a 6/6. RDU not happy with that pickup there. And now he has to deal with 6/6s every turn. And these guys are just going nuts. Death Spite could get him back in the game. All he needs is a Grom.
Reporting for duty.
Golden Draxus looks beautiful as well. Look at that. So a Grom will close out this game. Both Crocons have been used. So no more charge minions from them. So I think Grom is the only out for a sure win. However, he might have 1 or 2 turns to get it. This is a slow response. In a rage, that's not the card you want to see. I think you can... So you could clear the Forison, but I don't think there's much point. You're all in on the Grom win. And Argus should seal the game for Poh here. It's not going to be a way he's going to be able to respond without drawing two of the executes. So I've got a 45 next to RDU's name I'm seeing in chat from 15 minutes time that you guys are talking about. That is his Gosu ranking for Europe. So I'll be putting that next to players' names. But yeah, Poh should take this. Now, I don't think RDU can get back into this game. And it's not a Grom.
Let the pain speak to me.
Goes to the inner rage of hope. Into the brawl. No brawl. And that is going to be it. So Poh is going to take a game, off RDU. Ties it up 1-1. That Draxus off the top. And the lack of Grom for RDU did make that very difficult for him. So 1 apiece. The Demon Handlock, Demon Reno Lock, whichever it was, has got a win now, so that won't be seen again. We will see the Patron, as this is Conquest. So, yeah, we'll have to see what these guys bring. I don't have access to these guys' classes. It's completely blind for me, so I'm just surprised every time. Might queue in the Patron again, I think. It may as well. You've seen... So what did RDU beat first? He beat the Face Shaman. So, yeah, you could just queue that in if he thinks the Face Shaman's coming up next. I'm not sure what other decks he's brought. But he definitely knows... Well, both players have enough information of what one of their remaining classes is. So they could try and match up their decks for better matchups. Or they can just go ham and just pick whatever. So these guys are ready to go again into the next game. And it's going to be a Shaman Mirror. Is this going to be mid-range Shaman? It's not looking very mid-range at the moment. This is Face Shaman Mirrors. Now we love Face Shaman Mirrors, guys. So let's see who can kill... Who's going to kill them the fastest? Or is this going to be like a slow, grindy trading game where they use all their resources? Giblin Stalker in the Face Shaman. I saw that pop up in Insomnia. I can't remember whose deck it was. In replacement for the Flame Jugglers. And the Flame Jugglers replaced the Knife Jugglers. So the Face Shaman's lists have kind of had tweaks over time. And the first Trog is played. Gonna see a Rock Biter come from Poh here. Doesn't want to let that guy build up into a threat and start dealing more than 1 damage. So not going to be able to develop a minion of his own, but he does deal with it. Totem Golem comes down, allows for the Giblin Stalker to be played next turn on curve with the Overload. But I'd be surprised if we don't see a Feral Spirits here, just to lock out that Totem Golem from doing any damage. So this is already looking like it's going to be quite a back and forth minion battle, at least for this portion of the game. Let's see if one player swings out of control and take a win. The Doom Hammer is probably going to make the biggest difference. Who gets that Doom Hammer first? Who gets that roll in? The coin is going to allow another minion to be played here. A lot of pressure coming from Poh's side of the board, and the Overload, RDU side of the board, and the Overload is going to lock Poh out. Only going to be able to Flame Juggle. Oh, Totem Golem. Nice pick up there. Something with a health to challenge these 2 minions. So are we going to see a Crackle on this? I think so. So in these mirrors, having minions on board will probably do more damage than the spell itself. Because if Poh starts using minions to clear RDU stuff, I mean, he's getting the damage in return from the minions going face. And he's getting him to expend spells to fight for the board. So most of the times in these mirrors, if you've got a spell and you can take out an opposing minion, just go for it. It works out pretty well. Earthshock, double abusive sergeant. So now the totem can be used to attack, protecting the health on this totem golem. I can imagine the Giblin's going to go in as well. And look at that. That is great board management coming from RDU. Flame Juggler, let's see if he gets what he wants. Oh, that was the worst thing to hit. You can Earthshock it now, but it kind of feels bad. Goes for the Earthshock on the totem. Try and slow down that damage. Lightning Bolt off the top, probably going to hit that Flame Juggler. Might keep it for burst damage, but the board has been a struggle for Pohs so far. Or is he just going to go face? Yep, goes for the Flame Juggler. So yeah, he's already noticed that Pohs is struggling with this board. Both Feral Spirits have been used. Ancestral Knowledge will recharge its hand. But on 6 health, what can you really do? No heal. Gets a ping. Can start dealing with this board. But is it enough? So 3 damage is going to be left on board here. RDU at 28 health. Not a problem at all. Feral Spirit's Totem. Just playing what he gets off the top. Waiting for that spell to finish the game. But at 3 health, I can't see Pohs coming back. And this was a very quick game. And as you can see there, both those shamans trading blows and trading spells. And RDU got the better value. Playing for the board. And he, he traded well. He kept his minions alive, and it was definitely a struggle for Pohs going into that game. So now RDU is on match point. Just needs one more win with that Patron Warrior. So we know he's got a face shaman to fight, but we don't know what Pohs' last deck is. So we'll see what Pohs has in store for us. And it is a warrior of his own, and it's looking like Patron as well. So it's going to be a Patron mirror. But RDU is running those Crocon elites, and Pohs is running the Shredders. Unless Pohs is running some mid-range warrior, which he's cooked up himself. Nope, it's looking very Patron to me at the moment. So both players have found the Death Spite. Pohs has the advantage of being on the coin here. You can coin out Shredder, then coin out Death Spite, or coin out Death Spite and then coin out Shredder, depending on what RDU does. If this Acolyte comes down on 3, we're probably going to see coin Death Spite to deal with it. But Pohs has found his first Patron with a Whirlwind effect, so looking pretty tough. No Inner Rage just yet. Kind of hoping he can draw that Patron first and pull the trigger. Yep, Death Spike's going to come down. Not going to get much value from that Acolyte. So Crocon is going to try and soak up the last charge of that Death Spite. So now the coin is being used. He knows that Pohs can't play a Patron Warrior. But Pohs does have the second Death Spite ready. He might play it just straight after using this one, instead of developing that Shredder. Oh, he's considering it.
What now?
It's very tempting not to, because you slow yourself down. Next turn you want to use Death Spite with the Patron, but I think Shredder's probably the best pick here. It can trade into the Crocon and stick around, and then you get the Whirlwind effect for the Patron's next turn. So now RDU needs to decide, does he just go face, or does he trade the first part of the Shredder with the weapon, maybe clear up the second part with the Crocon if he gets some value? Doesn't use it at all. Interesting. So now I don't mind the Shredder going into the Crocon. I'm just dropping Loatheb. Because RDU didn't use his weapon. So Loatheb is pretty safe.
My new recipe.
Yep, and Loatheb's going to come down. So not using that weapon has kind of punished RDU a little bit because he can't clear up the remainder of that Loatheb. Which is a bit of a problem now. And locked out of spells is not going to allow him to execute without investing all his mana. Just something you don't want to do.
Armor made to fit. Armor made to fit.
So Poe kind of taking the initiative here with the board, keeping that Loatheb up. It can be cleared next turn, but he gets a nice Battle Rage off. And might even go for some more card draw to try and seal the deal with this Patron board.
Speak to me.
Which I don't mind too much. It makes the Death Spite hit kind of awkward. But Double Execute sitting in RDU's hand are going to be able to deal with this Loatheb pretty easily. Decides to invest in the Acolyte of Pain to stop the card draw. I like that. It's very heads up from RDU. And the Frovin is gonna start growing. But Poe has such a card advantage at this point. He's got so many cards in hand. And even though the decks are kind of in the same place, he's had access to kind of more stability on board. And getting off those that early Death Spite. So considering going for the Death Spite on the Frovin Berserker here, doesn't have an Execute in hand, so it doesn't have a great way to deal with it. Doesn't want to let this thing build up. A couple of Whirlwinds could make it very dangerous for Poe. But this sets up for its own Patron board into next turn. So Poe may gain advantage here unless RDU draws something worthwhile. And unfortunately, so Finley wasn't it. Gonna go on for the aggressive stance here. Knows he hasn't got access to patrons. And just gonna smack him down to 6. Knowing he doesn't have an Execute at hand right now. This is dangerous. Does he have... He has Slam for card draw, but if he doesn't find an Execute, could be a problem dealing with this Grom. Can he get the Execute to finish off this Grom and get himself back into the game? That's not an Execute. Sludge Belch is going to be the thing that's going to be stopping this Grom from going face again. But RDU does have an Execute and Fiery War Axe in hand, so a Sludge Belcher just isn't going to be enough. Love the aggressive stance from RDU there. Very well played. No matter how many cards Poe had in hand, without those Executes, he wasn't going to be able to stop Grom. And not being able to execute a Frovin last turn, which would have been not lined up quite nicely, just told RDU he didn't have it. And this is going to be it, guys. RDU is going to be going through to the next round, which, if I believe is correct, is round 5. So not too far from getting those HCT points. And well played from RDU there. So yeah, RDU takes it. Getting closer to winning this event, but he does have some very powerful opponents coming his way. Let's have a quick look at the bracket and see who is left. So it looks like Nick Slay is still waiting to play his game. Did this refresh? Let me check. So Hoy is actually out. Unfortunately, Hoy lost 3-2 to Flem. Shanton is still in. Shanton Udachi. Nick Slay is still in as well. and RDU as well. And RDU has his next opponent, which is Seema Cosmos. So that's going into round 5. So I'm going to get another game up for you guys. I'll try not to make it so long this time. Unfortunately, it's out of my control. So yeah, don't go anywhere. We'll have the next game coming up very shortly, and we'll be back very soon.